another idea that we have here is the pasuk wrote. Why do we on Shabbat we take 2 loaves of bread, we slice them, and we eat them? So what's the reason? So we have in the Chilta, it tells us, it says in the pasuk in a very different kind of way. It says Sheshet Yamim Tidkitu. First you gather the man 6 days. Then it says B'yom Shabbat lo yeh bo. So it says B'yom Shvi'i Shabbat. I already know from the 6th day that there's not going to be the 7th. I know there's 7 days. I know there's 6 days of gathering. I already know. No, he says B'yom Shabbat lo yeh bo. So Mechilta says, why he's saying it's too. He's saying it, and then he says lo yeh bo. B'yom Shabbat lo. I was it enough. What do you mean lo yeh bo? So Mechilta tells you, he's saying different things. He's saying Yom Shvi'i, B'yom Sheshet Yamim Tidkitu. That and the 7th day that's Shabbat. B'yom Shvi'i Shabbat lo yeh. That's saying Yom Kippurim that there won't be man giving from heaven. But lo yeh bo, that's Yom Tov. Fine. We have this idea that Shabbat Yom Kippur Yom Tov there isn't any man. The Tosfot says in different places, but primarily in Beitza, that there's another midrash. The midrash says, how did he bless the 7th day? B'man. That means what? He didn't bless Yom Tov with the 7th. No, only blessed the 7th day with the man. And he kadesh oto b'man, and he should sanctify it with man. He sanctified it because there was no man. That means every other day there was man. So these ideas tell you. So the Tosfot understands that there was man that came down in Yom Tov, that came in Yom Tov and came in Yom Kippurim, and the other opinion says that no, there was no man in any of the Yom Kippurim, not on Yom Tov. Now Rashi takes that very interesting. Rashi doesn't say like the Mechilta says that it's 2-3 separate. He just includes it all together. Shabbat lo Sheshet Yamim Tidkitu B'yom Shvi'i Shabbat lo yeh bo. Mikan she'en man Shabbat Yom Tov and Yom Kippurim. So what we could learn is like this. We could say like this, that there's a question. Why do we have the Lechem Mishneh? That's how we started off. So really this question is asking, why do we need what's the reason that we have these 2 loaves of bread? Are these 2 loaves of bread because this is a holy day, because it's Shabbat, and therefore it has to have an important meal, and because it was a double portion meal, so also this meal has to be a double portion? Or may I say that if you were to cut bread on this day, make sure it's done on 2 big loaves of bread and cut 2 loaves of bread. That's what it says in the Gemara, that you have to cut. There was a Morah that says you have to have 2 breads and you have to cut one of them. Meaning, there's rules how to have do the hamotzi, and the rule is that because it's a day that you have 2 loaves of bread came double portions, so therefore there should be 2 double portions, and you should eat from both of them. So perhaps the difference between the Mechilta and the Rashi is, how do you learn the pasuk? If you learn the pasuk that each one is telling you a distinctive thing, so potentially you could say that there could be differences between the 2 because they're not entirely the same. It just happens to be that we learn the same halacha, but it doesn't mean that they're the same in each area. But if Rashi says his halacha, his limud, as everything all together, this is more like telling us that they all have the same exact characteristics of how to do it. And we could bring this out in the Rambam. The Rambam writes in Chod Shabbat, it says you just need to have 2 breads. It doesn't specify how it's supposed to be done. It says צריך לקבוע כל סעודה משלושתן עליה, אני מוצא שתי כיכרות, וכן בימים טובים, meaning that there has to be 2 kikkarot. Why? Because it's an important day. It doesn't specify the how you're cutting it. And in Hilchot Berachot, he mentions the same halacha, but he says goes into more details. He says, take a full loaf and cut that. Then he says what you should do if you have a full loaf of a less quality bread. And then he says on Shabbat you should make sure you take a piece from both pieces of bread. That he holds it when he says the bracha, he holds them up in one. He holds both of them up and then he cuts one. So this could be the distinction that, according to the Tosfot, according to the Tosfot, that they held that the man, the Bet Yosef actually brings it. The Bet Yosef brings from the Rif that the biyamim tovim inami by livtzoa bet kikot keshabbat ve'ikar chiyuva b'shabbat. Why is the reason that you had to have? Because 2 loaves, because lo havama nachit b'shabbat, it did not come down. But yamim tovim also didn't come. So based on that logic, whenever the man didn't come down, you have to have 2 loaves of bread to remember that, and that includes yamim tovim. But he doesn't specify that they're entirely the same at all periods of time. It could be that it's it works like this. According to the Tosfot, that there was man on Yom Tov, and how he said that there's midrash chalukot. That's to tell you that you don't need to have Lechem Mishneh on Yom Tov. According to the Mechilta, how he learns it, it says it could be that you have 2 loaves of bread, but you don't. The reason why you have 2 loaves of bread is like, yes, because you have this idea that it's not that the man didn't come down, but it could be that it's only because it's not because it's a very sanctified day, because it doesn't have the midrash that says that doesn't exist by Yom Tov. That's not how it's blessed. And perhaps you could say there you need 2 loaves of bread as remembering, so that means you have to do the order of how you cut the bread, that there should be 2 of them. But regarding the actual day, the sanctity of the day demands that you should have it, there should 2 loaves of bread. That's unique for Shabbat. Where would that express itself? Express itself as like this. If I'm doing a 4th meal, that's not required. And I'm only required to do the b'tziat. I'm only required to have 2 loaves of bread in the point and to cut them in a very specific way, both of them. And the meals that I'm required. So the meals that I'm not required, why would I need to do it? But if it's a Shabbat, if it's that it's a sanctified day on its own, and therefore that requires me to have 2 loaves of bread, it's not related to how many, what's required, what's not required. It's not an end. The 2 loaves of bread are not means to an end to cut the bread. It just means to an end. It's in itself an end that this is an important meal.